You have clicked or tapped onto the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video. It is Weather for Weather Geeks here on the 7th day of January 2020. Today, we haven't talked about this in a while. This is where we challenge ourselves to be right within 2 degrees on the high temperature forecast for the following day. We're on a nice little streak to start out the year, 7 out of 7. 42 was the forecast today, 42 was the high. By the way, in, 70%. In other words, we got the high forecast, or a high temperature forecast right for the following day, right within 2 degrees. Some challenging forecasts, for sure. I've been keeping track of accuracy stats here for 6 years now, and it usually falls somewhere between 70 and 78% as far as our accuracy within 2 degrees on the following day's high temperatures. Some years are easier than others. I track our accuracy and the accuracy of some common other weather sources for our area just to see how we stack up, and no surprise, we have the most accurate forecast you're going to find. Now, that doesn't mean we're getting it right all the time. Of course, meteorology is a difficult science, and there are times in which the forecast is going to go astray. We like to keep those to a minimum, and we like to have those forecasts that go astray maybe be on the lower impact side of things. Getting a high temperature forecast wrong by 4 degrees is not nearly as impactful as getting a snow forecast wrong. So, it's challenging at times, but I love the challenge. And I love the challenge of winter weather forecasting. Haven't had to do much of that of late. It was a different story back in 2014. I'm going to talk about some early January extremes here this evening in this video. We had our second consecutive record low temperature on this date back in 2014, 12 below zero, and the high that day was just 2 above zero. We were in the middle of a real deep freeze, a legit deep freeze back in 2014. The first week of January, the last 2 years, actually the last 3 years, has been pretty extreme. Now, the last 2 have been very warm, and in fact, it may surprise you to see that last year's first 7 days of January actually warmer than this year. Both are pretty extreme, but we've had 2 consecutive very warm starts to January, but it was 2 years ago, back in early January of 2018. We were in the deep freeze then, and that was the coldest first week of January on record, believe it or not, 2 years ago, back in early January of 2018. I tackled the recent warm weather and talked a little bit about what the rest of January and February might have in store on my weather blog last night, ericwfmj.com. As always, a spirited discussion and comment section, especially on my Facebook page. Some are very enthusiastic about the lack of cold. Some are hoping for some cold and snow. Some just want to argue and spout conspiracy theories and nonsense and pseudoscience and that sort of thing. And that's what you're going to get when you have a popular post on Facebook, a colorful comment section. I try to police my comment section pretty carefully. I have no problem deleting comments and even banning some people who go too far. It's not often that a comment slips past me, but it gets a little bit hard sometimes in these more popular posts that have a lot of comments. It gets a little bit hard to see them all, but I try my best to keep my comment section as clean and family friendly and as productive as possible. No politics in my comment section. Someone trying to comment on politics, that gets deleted immediately. And anyone who disparages the field of meteorology and makes fun of weather people and says we're always wrong and things like that, you get the boot pretty fast. There's plenty of places on the internet for people to be mean and terrible, and my page is not one of them. All right, where's the cold? It's across the upper Midwest this evening, and this is finally coming our way, but just for one day, and it won't be this cold. It won't be 1 below like it is in International Falls in the nation's icebox this evening. We had a little sneaky snow event in the mid-Atlantic states today, a well-forecasted one, but kind of a compact little system that brought a handful of inches of snow and some travel difficulties to parts of Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, around D.C. and Baltimore. Some small slushy accumulations occurred, and that is getting off the playing field. So yeah, there's a little bit of snow on the ground finally in parts of West Virginia and through the Blue Ridge Parkway and up towards Camp David and over towards Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia, up into parts of central PA as well. All right, we're not looking for much accumulation around here anytime soon, but Some flurries and snow showers will start to crop up with the approach of our Arctic front late tonight and into tomorrow morning. So if you're a morning commuter on Wednesday, let's hone in on what to expect here. This is mostly a morning event. Maybe there's a flurry lingering into early in the afternoon, but even though amounts are going to be modest, generally under an inch, just a coating in a lot of spots, a coating of snow coming at rush hour, and with it being cold, cold enough to stick, yeah, there could be some slick spots tomorrow morning. Keep an eye on the bridges, the overpasses, the traditionally colder surfaces, and then on your parking lots and sidewalks and that sort of thing. That those surfaces that tend not to be treated as well and tend to be a little bit slippery before the major roads. That's what you have to watch out for first half of the day tomorrow. By the afternoon, flurries fade away. It's just going to be blustery and cold, and the sky will clear tomorrow night. Again, we're talking about under an inch of snow in most spots. I can't totally rule out someone trying to get an inch, maybe across the northern tier of Mercer County, but better chance for 2, 3, 4 inches will definitely be in the lake effect areas of far northwest PA from Erie County over into Chautauqua and Cattaraugus counties in southwest New York. All right, I mentioned those wind chills. It was in the lower 40s today. It'll feel about 30 degrees colder by the afternoon and evening tomorrow. Lower 40s today, wind chills, lower teens tomorrow afternoon. Thankfully, the wind is going to diminish tomorrow night. Actual temperatures will be in the teens as Thursday gets underway, but a nicer afternoon. Despite some increase in clouds, we'll get up to about 40 or so, and then very, very spring-like weather coming our way Friday and into Saturday. Now, Friday looks like the washout. Saturday looks unsettled, but I can't rule out some prolonged breaks in the precipitation on Saturday. And if those prolonged breaks do materialize, I think we're in record territory Saturday. The current record's 62, set 2 years ago. After it got really cold in the first week of January 2 years ago, it got really warm in the second week of January, and we set a record high on Saturday's date. That would be the 11th. We could break that record of 62 if we get enough breaks in the rain on Saturday. Here's our model spread for rainfall totals. On the lower end, close to an inch. On the higher end, close to 2 inches. I'm starting to actually lean a little more towards the lower end because the modeling is starting to trend towards a drier period on Saturday. That would keep the rainfall amounts maybe closer to an inch than closer to 2 inches. So in sensitive areas and areas that tend to have some problems if we see a little too much rain, a low-end concern for some minor flooding. I don't think this is going to be a big flooding problem. I don't think this is a flash flooding situation like when we have summertime thunderstorms. But if you live near Eagle Creek or in areas that have some poor drainage, pay attention to the forecast for the next couple of days. And yeah, this is the European model temperature output Saturday afternoon. These numbers will be realistic if we do, in fact, get enough breaks from the rain on Saturday. A little bit cooler on Sunday, but still way above the average, and this pattern will not break until at least 9 or 10 days from now. Beyond that, there's low confidence in the pattern. Some of the modeling shows a return to some opportunities for some cool weather, some maybe typical January cold. Some of the modeling actually continues kind of the blowtorch pattern later this month. I don't have a lot of confidence in what happens beyond the middle, the latter portions of next week. So stay tuned on that, and stay tuned for another edition of this video on Wednesday. We'll recap the day's snow showers and cold and wind, and we'll have another update on that weekend forecast tomorrow evening on Weather for Weather Geeks.